Okay, if you check the board where we have our grades up there, what you have up there represents your midterm grade. Okay, so that's just halfway through. It doesn't really mean anything. It just gives you an indication where you are. And I give the same speech in every class. And that's that if anyone is less than a 65% average, and you have taken all the tests, you don't like you only one or anything like that, then there's probably very little chance of you getting a C. If you're going to stay at South Suburban, you need a C or better in these classes. I would assume if you're transferring out someplace, it would be the exact same thing also. But anyway, so if you want to talk to me, you can do that. Okay. Separately. So that's that. Otherwise, I think most of you are doing really well. So we don't have to worry about that. Okay, I think we're on page 109. All right, the stomach, as we saw in lab, is divided into different areas or regions. Most of these should be familiar to you. The first region we did mention in lab, and that's the cardiac region. The cardiac region is found near the esophagus. And what it does for us is it receives food. It receives food. The second area of the stomach is called the fundus. The fundus is above the cardiac portion, and it stores food. It stores food above the cardiac portion, and it stores food. The third area is the body. It's the main area. And what it does for us is it digests food. And then we get to the last area, which is called the pylorus. The pylorus is found at the end of the stomach. And food in the pylorus is now called chyme. That's spelled C-H-Y-M-E. Food in the pylorus is now chyme, and that's spelled C-H-Y-M-E. And chyme looks like heavy cream. So we wouldn't recognize the food. Okay, it looks like heavy cream. Okay, then we get to the very end of the stomach, that's letter E, that's the pyloric sphincter. It does two things. It keeps food inside the stomach, and secondly, it prevents gastric juice from leaking into the small intestines. Keeps food inside the stomach, and it prevents gastric juice from leaking into the small intestines. Okay, now one of the big functions of the stomach is the actual digestive process that takes place on all the food that we eat. So if you look here, they did is they took a little snip of the inside of the stomach with the stomach wall. And what this one isn't so good, look over here. This would be the inside of your stomach. If we opened up, your stomach and had no food in it, and if we had little microscopes for eyes, we would see little holes in the lining of the stomach, and those are called gastric pits. Then, as you go deep into the wall of the stomach, you would see these things here, which are actually the gastric glands. Okay, so we're gonna be referring to this in the next section of the notes. Okay, gastric secretions are all the chemicals released by the stomach during digestion. All the chemicals released by the stomach during digestion. All the chemicals released by the stomach during digestion. Okay, first thing we see is what's called a mucous membrane. Mucous membrane lines the inside of the stomach, and like you would guess, it secretes mucus. Mucous membrane lines the inside of the stomach, and it secretes mucus. Okay, B. Now, gastric pits, those little holes up there, are small openings in the mucous membrane. Small openings in the mucous membrane. And they are actually the ends of the gastric glands. Small openings in the mucous membrane, and they are the ends of the ends of the gastric glands. All right, now, next page. When we take a look at the gastric gland, which are the long structures going down, we see that the gastric glands are made up of 3 types of cells. First types of cells are called the mucus cells. Those are found in what's called the neck or the upper portion of the gland. Mucus cells are found in the neck or the upper portion of the gland. And again, they secrete mucus. They secrete mucus. Second type of cells, too, are called chief cells. Those are deepest in the gland. And they secrete several digestive enzymes. Chief cells are deepest in the gland, and they secrete several digestive enzymes. And then the third type of cells are called parietal cells. Those are found in the middle of the gland. And they secrete 2 things. The first is called hydrochloric acid. And if you want to abbreviate that, capital H, capital C, little l, that's fine, or you can write it out. Hydrochloric acid, HCl. And they also secrete what's called intrinsic factor, INTRINSIC, INTRINSIC factor. Okay, so then let's take a look under D, what exactly is secreted by the different cells and what exactly they do. Well, we're going to start with number 1 where it says pepsinogen. Okay, pepsinogen under 1 is secreted by the chief cells. And it combines with hydrochloric acid from the parietal cells. Pepsinogen is secreted by the chief cells, and it combines with hydrochloric acid, which is secreted secreted by the parietal cells. Okay, these two mix together and they make pepsin. So once again, pepsin is secreted by the chief cells. Hydrochloric acid is secreted by the parietal cells. These two mix up and they make pepsin. Pepsin digests protein. I can just about guarantee that one test question is going to be, where does protein digestion begin? And the answer is in the stomach. Where does protein digestion begin? The answer is in the stomach.